This has been a really good month for crypto. Pretty much all the altcoins are up, Bitcoin is close to its all-time high, and there are some tokens that perform better than others. Moodeng is one of them. This month, Moodeng went from 3.5 cents all the way to 31 cents. Just in the last 24 hours, we saw a 37% increase. But the question is, how much longer can this rally actually last? Who is buying here? Who's triggering this rally? Is this short-term speculative capital with a lot of leverage, or is this long-term investors? Is this a lot of retail investors that get into the token? Let's have a look at the data most people are not considering. Now, this is not the first video on Moodeng on this channel. I've already published 8 other videos, and it looks like interest in the token tends to grow. Just have a look at how the number of search queries is spiking up again. It's also the trending meme coin on CoinGecko. And what's interesting is that the market cap of Moodeng is still comparatively low. In other words, there might still be some upside potential. Have a look at this list of various meme tokens. Here is Moodeng with 300 million of market cap. There are plenty of meme coins that are larger than that. So after a 2x, we are beating the CAT token. After a 3x, we are beating Bread at SPX 6900. And with a 4x, we would even go above Floki Ino. Now, is this going to happen? Probably only with the help of market makers and of centralized exchanges. But let's go back to on-chain data. So that's the transactions that happen directly on the Solana chain. Moodeng is the 4th largest trending token on the entire chain. It's got 8.8 million worth of liquidity. And the only meme coins that are larger than that is, of course, the Trump token, then Fartcoin, and Popcat. The token now has 76,000 holders on chain. Now, how many of those holders came in the last month? We've got the answer over here. So this is the number of first-time traders versus recurring traders in the last 30 days. And we had a lot of new traders starting to flow in on the 8th of May. That then slowed down on the 13th of May. So that's this rally over here. The price went up by 620%. As the number of new traders slowed down, people started to take profit. But now things are stabilizing again. What we've got over here is the trading volume on chain over time. And in the first months after launch, we had quite a bit of activity that spiked every now and then, but then it stayed quiet for a while. Now the trading has restarted again, and surprise, surprise, that's since the 8th of May. Now we can have a look at who's actually trading, as in what kind of wallet sizes. Is this small retail or is this the big whales? And how does that develop over time? And so that is shown in this graph. When there was not much activity in Moodeng, we tended to see mainly small retail trading the token. Now, interestingly enough, on the 8th of May, we did not yet see a lot of the larger tokens trading. The trading volume was split very similarly to the prior weeks. But now in the last 2 days, suddenly the larger wallets, so medium-sized retail and large retail, takes over more and more of the trading volume. Now those are the wallets that have between $1,000 and $100,000 worth of the token. So what seems to have happened is that there was a massive retail-driven rally, all of those new holders coming in, then the interest went down, but the price recovered. Why did it recover? Because of the whales now stabilizing the price. The whales are the reason for this secondary rally. Now we can count the number of retail wallets versus whale wallets. So the retail wallets are on the left. That's the wallets that have at least 3,000 Moodeng tokens. That's roughly $1,000 worth of the token. On the right, it's $100,000 worth of the token. In the middle, something in between. So 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. And we can see the initial accumulation after launch for all of those wallet cohorts. With the recent activity that really started on the 8th of May, we saw quite an uptick in the number of whales. We didn't see as much of an uptick for the other wallet cohort. But it's not necessarily the number of whales that matters. It is rather the existing whales that buy up more and more of the supply. In orange, we see the supply that's held by the whale wallets. So by the wallets that have at least $100,000 worth of the token. And that continues to expand and is currently at 90.2%. On the 8th of May, that was quote unquote only at 83%. So small and medium-sized retail continued to take profit, while the big money, the smart money, bought in. And it seems like they continue to buy in. Now let's look a bit deeper. Let's go one step further, something I don't do that often officially here on YouTube. Let's have a look at the traders that made a lot of money with Moodeng, that have realized or unrealized profit, and see what are they currently holding. Now, there are two types of traders that tend to make money in crypto. There are the arbitrage bots that aren't really interested in the direction. They simply just look for mispricing. They tend to make a lot of money in crypto. But then there's also the position traders. They simply buy something when it's low and then sell after a certain rally. Now, have a look at this. This is the top Moodeng traders. And the first two wallets, they are arbitrage traders. But the third wallet is a position trader. He made over 6 million of profit. And here's what he's currently mainly holding. It's the Labubu token. Now, what on earth is Labubu? So yeah, this here is Labubu, and this is Labubu, and this as well, and this as well. You can tell I'm a big fan of Labubu. Yeah, this is not from me. This is my wife. She likes these kind of things. And it's a big thing here in Asia. I'm not sure if it's as big in Europe or in America, but in Asia, it's a big trend. And so here's the price development of that token. The trader that made a ton of money with Moodeng holds a lot of Labubu. And here the market cap is only 24 million. Again, usually I don't share this kind of data on YouTube. Usually I only share this in the premium membership. The link is down below, thebitcoinstrader.com. But feel free to make your own research on the token. 24 million in market cap is not large. We can easily 10x, and the momentum is very positive. But we are not going to go in the details and on-chain statistics of Labubu because this is a Moodeng video. So back to Moodeng. How much more upside potential do we have? What we see over here is the Moodeng token relative to Solana, because we always want to get outperformance. The first resistance is after a gain of roughly 20%. The second resistance is after a gain of 75%. So the central question is, how much more will the whales continue to accumulate the token? Most trading volume of Moodeng already happens on the centralized exchanges, and it already happens with the perpetual futures, so the levered bets on the price. There was $182 million worth of trading volume on Coinbase alone on the spot market in the last 24 hours. On Binance, on the perpetual futures, we had 1.6 billion with a B worth of trading volume. The open interest, so the amount of bets on the price of Moodeng, tends to go up with the price. No surprise here, there's correlation. And the trading volume of the perps went up massively. Now, in what direction are those people trading? They're mainly trading in the long direction. So people are betting on rising prices, not on falling prices. And that's of course always a bit of a risk, right? Because if enough people bet on rising prices and all the whales own the token, they might manipulate the price down in order to liquidate all of those longs. It might not happen today, it might not happen tomorrow, but the more positive the funding rate gets over time, the more risky the game becomes. Just have a look at this historically. When the funding rate was extremely high, the price of Moodeng also topped, and subsequently we had our decline. So we have to watch this very carefully. We are not yet at historical highs of the funding rate, but if it continues to go up like this, while it's the whales that are buying and there are no new traders entering the token, then things can become problematic very quickly. Right now, the number of liquidations is still okay. It's in line with the trading volume. But if you are crashing in Moodeng, then this long liquidation value will spike massively. And this, of course, will be a nice profitable day for Binance. Now, to a degree, the crypto market is just a reflection of unregulated life. As in, most gains come just to a few people, to a few assets. The vast majority tends to lose. So if you're just taking a broadly diversified portfolio of assets, we're likely going to not perform that well. Because here's the thing, crypto does not have any regulation. Everybody can launch a coin, and so there's no real barrier to entrance. And because of that, we tend to see a lot of fraud. We tend to see a lot of setups where tokenomics are rather poor, so where the average investor tends to not make money. And so when crypto cannot create money out of thin air, when it's actually a sophisticated system of moving money from the not so well informed to the better informed, then how can we become better informed over time? Because surely there's also a luck component involved, but there are some people that tend to win long term. Now, it's obviously not easy to become part of the minority. If we are not launching a project and we know more than the rest about that project, then how can we still become insiders? I think the best answer is to try to figure out what the insiders are doing and then simply copy trade them. For example, over here, we've got the Martini guy, and he bought the Chippy token when the market cap was still at $455,000. Now have a look at the comments on that wallet signal. The Martini guy tweeted about Chippy 2 hours after he has bought himself. And so since we are in a market without much regulation, and since we are in a market that does not produce any wealth, it's just transfer from one to another, it's all about figuring out an unfair advantage. And the unfair advantage of Martini Guy is to simply have a following, right? He's just buying and then he tweets about it, and then the price goes up by more than 50% in just a few hours. Here's, by the way, his YouTube channel. He's got 150,000 subscribers. And so when we know what the insiders are doing, when we know what the influencers are doing, we can replicate those trades. Now, the art is in finding the right wallets. And we are tracking 12 wallets of Martini Guy. In total, we are tracking more than 500 wallets. So 12 are by Martini Guy, but we've got a lot of other influencers as well. For example, check out this signal over here. This is YouTuber Jesse Eckel. He bought $10,000 worth of the winner token on the 2nd of May. And surprise, surprise, on the 6th of May, he published a video about the winner token. And so, of course, the price also appreciates in the top by almost 50%. And so really, it's a game of attention. It's not a game of fundamental analysis. Most YouTubers, they simply just buy the asset and then they promote it on their channel. And then later on, they might sell it at a higher price. Don't get distracted by all the noise. We are also following Alex Becker, for example. So we've got 12 of his wallets. We are tracking Crypto Banter. We've got 33 of their wallets. And here we've got Brian Young, who, by the way, bought the virtual token extremely early. And we've got 5 of his wallets. So how do we get all of that data? How do we know what influencer holds what kind of wallet? And how can we then create those signals that we can actually buy and sell with them? The answer is through on-chain analytics. So there are several approaches. We can, for example, look at what kind of NFTs does somebody hold. We can then see, are there maybe potentially deposit addresses on centralized exchanges? Did other major deposits happen to the same kind of wallet? Are those wallets potentially connected? We can also look at prior purchase histories. So let's say we've got an influencer that talked about very small altcoins in their Twitter or in their YouTube. And then we look at wallets that held all of those altcoins and that potentially bought them also before the tweet or before the YouTube video. Then we've probably also got the right wallet. We can then afterwards confirm this, right? We can look at what is the wallet buying next. Is there again another tweet or another YouTube video on this? If the answer is yes, it's probably the right thing. We're then continuing to track it. And so I've made an entire video playlist on how to find different wallets and how to track them, how to then get the signals and how to interpret the signals. And so our entire community is trying to find new wallets, discussing this in the wallet research channel. And then once we found an agreement, we add this to our influencer trade tracking channel. And so the idea is pretty straightforward. We're trying to generate as much outperformance as possible that in the end, the membership more than pays for itself. Now there is some funds needed, right? We can't just trade with a few $100. I think the best portfolio has at least $5,000. Once you are at 5,000, you should be able to make that money back. Now, if your portfolio is larger, then you can consider to potentially sign up for yearly as well. First of all, there's a discount involved. So there's $250 off. But secondly, there's also a 1-hour free Zoom call. So in case you've got a larger portfolio in crypto, but also outside of crypto with other asset classes, and you could benefit from a direct one-on-one call, the yearly membership might be for you. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in Premium. Cheers.